Hello and welcome to How to Play Battleship Salvo Variation, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com. This video will cover how to play the Salvo variation of the game Battleship. The video will start with the general concepts and gameplay, then get into more of the details for the game. The game is played with two players sitting across from each other, so they are unable to see the other's grid. Each player will have a battleship game unit with 5 ships, white pegs and red pegs. The ships are the destroyer, the submarine, the cruiser, the battleship, and the carrier. The game units have a top grid and a bottom grid. Players will position their 5 ships on the bottom grid anywhere they like, vertically or horizontally. The object of the game is to sink all your opponent's ships. A ship will occupy spaces on the grid that are represented by a letter and a number. Players take turns calling out grid spaces looking to hit a ship. A ship is sunk when all holes on the ship have been hit. Players decide who goes first. Blue will start this game by calling out 5 coordinates, one for each of his ships. The coordinate consists of a letter A through J, which represents the rows on the grid, and a number 1 through 10, which represents the columns on the grid. Blue will keep track of his coordinate calls in his top grid. Red will keep track of Blue's coordinate calls in her bottom grid. Blue calls out A3, D4, F8, I3, and H10. After all calls are made, Red will tell Blue if any coordinate calls are occupied by part of her ships. Red will say I3 is a destroyer hit. Both players will replace the hit space with a red peg. Red can clear Blue's misses if wanted. Play moves to Red to call out 5 coordinates. Red calls B2, D4, F6, H8, H2. Blue responds, hit D4 is a carrier hit, and H2 is a battleship hit. Red pegs will replace the hit spaces. Play moves back to Blue, who calls another 5 coordinates for his 5 ships. Blue calls I4, H3, F2, B7, C9. Red announces hit I4. Once all the holes of a ship are hit, the ship sinks. Red announces, you sunk my destroyer. Blue marks the hit and places a red peg into the top of the game unit to represent the sunken ship. Play moves back to Red, who only gets to call 4 coordinates as she only has 4 ships left. Skipping ahead in the game play, it is Red's turn and will call 1 coordinate for the 1 ship left. Red calls out E8. Blue responds, hit, and you sunk my submarine. Red has sunk all of Blue's ships and has won the game. Every time a player loses a ship to sinking, that player loses a shot to call. A ship's placement cannot cause part of the ship to be off the grid. A ship cannot overlap another ship in the same space, and a ship cannot be placed diagonally. Once the game begins, all ships must stay where they are and cannot be moved. That wraps up How to Play Battleship Salvo Variation. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and get more game tutorials by subscribing to our channel, Gather Together Games. Thanks for watching.